Hey guys!
In my desperate search for video content, I stumbled across a show called Best Friends Whenever, which is from like 2015. And honestly, I'm surprised how many Disney shows I missed during my life because I don't have access to the Disney Channel or whatever. How I got to the show is not something I can really explain. Let's just say it was suggested to me. So I watched the first 2 episodes, and looking back, it's kind of weird, all these Disney comedies are so weirdly sanitized, and I know it wasn't terrible. The performances are, it's what you get. It's not the peak of acting or anything, especially because there's the two main actresses involved were still pretty inexperienced at that point. I think they're still kind of, I checked what they're up to now, and they haven't done really that much. Anyway, Best Friends Whenever follows around the best friends Shelby and Sid, who learn to time travel in the first episode. Now, of course, the explanation given to it is absolute sci-fi mumbo jumbo, so it doesn't really make any sense how they can do it. But then the question is how they handle it, and it's a little bit comedy, and life lessons at the end. But generally, I would say the first episode is not that terrible. Like, it doesn't make you super invested. But I'm surprised that this show actually had 2 seasons. And I mean, that shows that whoever worked at Disney at that time, at 2015, had some faith in the show working out. Didn't obviously, because it only lasted 2 seasons. But I've been trying to get to simpler shows because I want to at least experience some form of peace and happier time with how the current times are. It's just so incredibly depressing and unnerving because you don't know what could happen, and 2015 doesn't already feel so far removed. I mean, it's been like 8 years or whatever. I had also the chance to watch Life Unexplained, all the entire show, which ran on the CW and had a lot of potential, which also just lasted 2 seasons. And it's kind of neat to watch shows that go around and, for 20 or 40 minutes and teach you simple life lessons and everybody's happy at the end. Honestly, with how television and movies have gone, I do kind of miss the simpler times where everybody could just be happy, It's one of the reasons why I don't watch Euphoria, it doesn't appeal to my senses or the youth culture I grew up with. And on the other hand, you have these shows that don't do something incredibly crazy or outlandish, but are just sort of nice, It's like a Hallmark movie, or those you find in the bargain bin of supermarkets. You grab it, you watch it, and it's neat, but it's also not something you terribly need to think a lot about. And I think that's kind of the appeal, They just want to entertain. And I mean, superhero films kind of fall out in favor, for me at least, right now. There have been some neat stuff, but yeah, going back to the characters of Best Friends Whenever, they're neat, Shelby is the more traditional girl. She's a bit of a control freak, and likes to be in control of stuff and sort of impose her ideals on other people, while Sid is the more tomboyish one. She likes to break rules, so it's kind of the more interesting character, at least to say. And it's nice to see just a sort of uncomplicated friendship between the two. And I think that was the main driving point, because right from the first episode, the 2 actresses bounce off each other well in terms of acting and comedy dynamic. You have also their scientist friend Barry, who's at fault for why they can time travel, because it was his invention that they messed with, and he's like super smart but has no social skills. I mean, this is a show for teenagers from Disney, so the characters are not super complex, but they do exactly what they need to do to work. He has also a friend who's a bit more dumber than him, so they're kind of the comedy relief of the show. But then there's also the twin brothers of Shelby, Brad and Chad, who can honestly go fuck themselves. I think another pair of comedy relief is kind of unnecessary, and it's just just them simping for Sid. And, you know, she's, believe, 15 or something like that, and they're like 10, so it's super weird. They're just their canon photo for experiments. I don't know. In a show that's already comedy, you didn't need so much comedy relief. But I guess that's just how it is. I don't think you need to check out the whole series to get the point, but maybe it gets more interesting after that. I plan on maybe watching the entire show, but this is just a first-hand review.
Well, the books are full of words that you read, and the show gets me paid.